Hello, this is your refining and mark making demonstration video. So we're gonna start out with refining. So you can kind of see this wobbly edge of watercolor. It doesn't look that great. I have a couple options. If you have salt on there, you're gonna have to rub off the salt and get off areas that you don't want on there. So I'd find a similar color. You can either use colored pencil or marker, or if you're going to outline with Sharpie and it's not that bad. I'm also going to try to lighten up my pencil lines that I can see through. So getting rid of guidelines that you no longer need, lightening your pencil, that's all part of your craftsmanship grade. So I would go back very gently and outline, but then I'm going to fade in to where it doesn't look like just an outline, especially if I'm using colored pencil. Just kind of fade in along the side to make that edge look a little bit better, more refined, better craftsmanship. Then I can maybe fade in some other colors. The other option would be marker. So let's say like for this one, the water kind of got outside of my outline where I wanted it to be. So I'm going to lighten up my pencil. Preferably you do that before watercoloring, but sometimes you forget. Okay, then with something to clean up the edge, so I know normally we tell you guys not to outline, but in this case we want it to still have good craftsmanship with all the different media. And then perhaps I put colored pencil on top so it doesn't look so outlined, but that cleans up edges. With pencil, you do have mechanical pencil in your sets. So with pencil, like this one here, I can go back and I'm trying to match the value. So I'm not necessarily pressing very hard. I just want a clean edge. So you can use mechanical pencil for mark making as well. And any place else I have graphite happening, then I can go back and kind of clean up my edges with mechanical pencil for refining. All right, you want to make sure you lighten outlines before you start, your erasing guidelines before you really start kind of working into those negative spaces. Okay, now for mark making. You do have 3 Sharpies. You have this one or the other Sharpie pen. This and one of your other Sharpies do not use. Put that away. That's for micrography. You have the one single Sharpie left. So mark making is like hatching lines, cross hatching, stippling, or little dots. I'm going to post a video of someone else doing all the different mark making techniques with pen, but here's just some information on how you can put it on top of media. So this is graphite. Let's say I want to enhance the form of that sphere. So I'm going to kind of start on one side, start on the darker side, and I want to do curved little flicked hatches. So some short, some long. I'm going to flick in. You don't want to press very hard. Some short along the edge so that you have range of value. Okay, so that's hatching. Hatching can also just be straight lines. So perhaps in some of these areas, I'm going to use Sharpie to clean up my edges, but then perhaps I'm going to do hatching, some short ones for a range of value. All right, cross hatching is when you crisscross. So I'm going to do that in a bigger cross hatching. And I think along that edge I'm going to fade in some colored pencil, so I'm just going to leave that. Okay, so we're going to start in one direction. So some long, some short. You can kind of hold your Sharpie in the center to adjust your pressure. All the things you learned in Art 1-2 when doing the negative space. All right, so then I'm going to turn my project so my hand is comfortable, and I'm going to go another direction. perhaps I'll go another direction. So you're crisscrossing. It's called cross-hatching. And so if you do a ton of it, you can get some really cool darker values. I usually go about 3 or 4 different directions for cross-hatching. All right, stippling is dots. And so I know for sure I want dots like around this area. But I also want to put some on top of my spheres because that's supposed to represent me, my grandmother, my mother. So I'm going to remember you don't want to press very hard. Like we shouldn't hear the rain happening, like the tap, tap, tapping. You want to actually like be precise and gently tap. Okay, so that's little dots and I'm gonna fade that out. Then I know I'm going to repeat. So part of kind of unifying and tying it all together is, so I have a lot of oranges on this side, I'm throwing a few pops of orange on that side. If I'm gonna have like stippling and hatching on this side, then I'm gonna put some stippling and hatching on this side. So you wanna kind of repeat some of the patterns or techniques that you're doing. So in some of the negative spaces, I know I'm gonna want some stippling. So I'm gonna dot along the edge to get a clean edge, cover up my pencil, and then I'd probably go back and erase the pencil there as well. Maybe I want it to be darker, more dots. So remember, craftsmanship counts. You need to be a little precise when you do this. And I would listen to music, watch a movie while you're doing this because it could take a while. Over here, I'm going to do this with a colored pencil. So it does not have to be a Sharpie. It can be with pencil. Actually, I'm going to do an underlayer of graphite first. So this is supposed to represent my mother's colon when she had colon cancer. That's what that form is. So I am going to, scumbling is where it's like controlled scribbles. So you want to kind of go every which way and you can kind of layer it and then go bigger and less pressure to fade out. So that was a very anxious time in my family's life. Trying to see like how much the cancer had spread. So I'm using a type of line to represent that, plus a mark making technique to enhance that feeling. Mark making can also be with an eraser. So this is my graphite. It doesn't look fabulous. Maybe I want to do some mark making with the eraser to kind of hide that, and then I'm going to put Sharpie on top. So I'm going to do just hatching. So I'm using the end of the eraser. And then I'm going to move my project so my arm is comfortable, so I have good craftsmanship. Okay, then I feel like I would do that all over the background. Okay, so that's starting to look a little bit better. And then perhaps I'm going to take a colored pencil and do some additional mark making in the same direction. Just add a little touch of color in this area. I'm going to make sure when you're mark making, you're either using mechanical pencil because it's already sharp, and it's always sharp, or Sharpie, or if you're using colored pencil like I am, you want to make sure that you sharpen so you get fine line. Okay, so it's hard for you guys to see. Okay, and when you get up close, you can kind of see the color, subtle color. All right, then on top of that, I could stipple, I could do cross hatching, but I think I'm gonna stay with the hatching. So then I'm gonna go back and go right up to the edge and flick away or pull away, whichever is easier. For me, kind of flicking away from your body is a little bit easier. So again, I will post a video of a bunch of different mark making techniques with pen that you can apply to your lifeline drawing. So that's mark making in a nutshell. And this is kind of like the last bit of stuff that you would do. So you could also use the Sharpie as a pattern. So perhaps I wanted to do a pattern on top of the colored pencil, because those are looking quite, like they're kind of standing out, not how I really want them to be. So this is on top of the colored pencil. You just want to make sure you're not pressing very hard with this Sharpie because it will pick up some of the wax and it will ruin your Sharpie, which is why you can't use that tiny one for this project. Okay, so that counts as a pattern. This kind of counts as a texture. So now I'm kind of looking at the elements and principles and seeing what I'm missing. So this is when you're about, I would consider this like halfway-ish done almost. I have that part I still need to work, 40% done. So you want to make sure you get all of your background done, you're layering your media in order, and then your Sharpie is probably one of the last things you're going to do, because also you can tell like it's creating a lot of contrast throughout. So I'm also going to use the Sharpie to balance out my values. Okay, good luck, have fun. Watch the mark making video if you want to know more about what I just showed you.